editor, right? Like that. That is my mother-in-law, taken a couple of years ago, obviously. And it was taken in a backyard. There's a dog dish to her left, a bottle down there in the corner, all kinds of junk going on. And what I want to do, because she looks like she's posing in a studio, is I want to put her into this studio. That's my goal. That's a backdrop in my studio. So what am I going to do? Well, we will have to get rid of the background. Let's worry about fixing her up first. And tell you what, let me turn off the background for a bit. Let's go into guided mode and see how we might fix an image in guided mode. Let me go ahead and close down my photo bin. We don't need that. Gives us a little bit more room to look at Joanne. And over here, we do have something called Restore Old Photo, and that's what we're going to use. Go ahead and select it. So we're going to go by the numbers, if you will. So here's one that they show you. We don't have quite that much damage, and ours is grayscale. Now, the first thing is, do you want to crop any of the image? Do you want to get rid of any of the image before you get started? And I'm thinking, yeah, I suppose we could make our kind of like selection area smaller. So let's pick up the crop tool and let's crop. And that's not too bad, but let me go ahead and bring this down just a little bit like that. Okay, commit right here. All right, I'm committed. We have a spot healing brush tool and we have a healing brush tool. Now, the healing brush tool requires us to sample an area first, kind of like the clone tool, before it heals it. This one just does it based on surrounding information. So if we select that one and come over here, I've got a very small brush. Don't forget you can use your left and right bracket keys to make that bigger or smaller. We could pop it right there, I suppose. Get rid of that one. And for now, that's okay. We can come back to it. Don't need any healing. Don't need any cloning. Don't want to blur anything. Don't really need to remove any dust. So we're just speeding along here. I'm not a big fan of auto. However, if we were in the expert mode, we'd be using levels and putting our own touch to it. Auto, though, does a pretty good job. And let's see what it does for us. That's really not that bad. So I'm going to come down here and say convert it to black and white. So actually, that's nice. But I do see a couple of areas like here and that we could probably work on. So let's come back up here and go into our spot healing tool. And maybe get that little spot right there. There's a little tiny spot. It's kind of hard to see. It's right next to her nose right there. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Now, you might spend more time here, but let's go ahead and say we like what we have. We've been in guided mode. Click Done. And go back to expert mode. Now, you can see what it did. It changed the image. It gave us the original, which I really like. Just in case we decided, oops, I don't like it, we got the original. So let's not worry about that. Let's worry about how we get rid of that background. Let's turn this one off. We don't need it right yet. Also, one other thing. When I cropped it, it resized the image to fit the area based on my other thing, this backdrop right here. And what that means is it made it bigger. I think it's a little bit bigger than what we need, but we'll handle that later. We need to get her out of that background. We're going to use a tool over here in the lasso family called the magnetic lasso. Now, the magnetic lasso, and we went over this in the selection chapter, with contrast, frequency, and feather. Width is how many pixels on either side it looks for the edge. I'm going to keep that low. I have bumped the contrast up to 50%, and I bumped the frequency up to 40. So it kind of locks it in a little bit faster. All I have to do now is come say right about here, click, and begin moving. And the tool itself, as long as it can find what it defines as an edge, will keep doing it for me. Now, when we get up to her hair, again, I'm not dragging the tool, I'm just moving it, don't forget. That might be a little bit more difficult, so I am actually going to add my own anchors by clicking my mouse. Anytime you say, well, you're not where I want you to be, you click your mouse, it sets one for you. If you don't do that, it tries to find them. And so I'm going to get right here, and let's see if we can go around the bow. That should be a little bit easier because there's a lot of contrast there. And let's come down the other side of the bow. And then we got the hair going on here again where I may have to do a couple of my own clicks. And by the time I probably get down here to the neck area, probably going to be okay. And so we come down, and we're in the home stretch, coming down this way. Move over. Now it's going to do that. Don't worry about that. We'll fix that in a second. Okay, so we kind of messed up a little bit here. No big deal. Pick up the regular lasso. Hold the Shift key down. Shift as in add. And let's draw ourselves a little area like that to pick up that stuff. Other than that, I think we're okay, except for one other area. This needs to be drilled out. So I think what I'm going to do is go to my quick selection tool and hold on the Alt key, because remember, we want to take that out of the selection, not add. So if I come over into this area, hold on the Alt key, that's the Option key on a Mac, Alt in Windows, and get in here and begin doing that. And you know what? I'm going to stop right there. That's fine. So we've got what I think is a good rough selection to get rid of that background. Let me go and turn the backdrop back on again. Now, let's close this down. And let me double click the hand tool so we can see a whole lot more, make it bigger. And actually, now that I see down here, I did miss a little tiny spot here, didn't I? So I'm going to pick up my selection tool, and that's the lasso. And I'm going to get in here, hold the Shift key down. And let's just kind of draw down in there. You can change your mind anytime you want to. Fix things, change them. But eventually what you want to do probably is go up to the word select and go down to my favorite feature, Refine Edge. I love this thing. Now what it's showing me, which I love, is the background, because I turned it back on again. But you could have her against white or black or anything else that you want. It's up to you. I think it would look best if we see what we're doing. So let's do this. Now, in most cases, you can usually get away with doing what's called Smart Radius. You turn that on and watch what happens to the edge, especially around her hair. I mean, look at that. That is an amazing way to work. Now, if you see any problems, you can always go in and you can work with it. Maybe a little bit of smoothing might help. Now, down here you have Decontaminate Colors. And what that does when you move this, it removes color fringes. And it helps just a little bit, I think, with this edge as it looks or appears down here. That's not really that bad. Now, I want a layer mask. So I'm going to do a new layer with a layer mask and click OK. So I'm really covering all my bases. I've got the original. I got the one we did with guided. Now I got this one up here. Now, the other problem is the fact that the background is in color, and she isn't. Now, we could choose to colorize her. I guess that's a possibility. But I would rather bring this more into the past than the future. So what I'm going to do is go and select Backdrop here and go up to this button right here and go down into Hue and Saturation. And if I take saturation down, it will take the color out of the backdrop and make it more of a period piece. Let me go ahead and click off of that. Now, we don't really need this one anymore. We can delete it. We don't need this one anymore. We can delete it. This one still represents the original image, because if I click over here and hold down the Shift key, I can disable and bring it right back. Now, that doesn't look too good, but don't worry. We don't have to worry about that. That's just part of the mask. And there you go. We've successfully put Joanne from a background photograph into more of a studio. One more thing, though. I think I'd like her a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is select here. Okay. Pick up your Move tool. Again, the reason I can do this is because I do have these things selected right here. And I think I'll go to the corner and just drag in some. Commit. Maybe move it over just a little bit like that. Tell you what, let's save this one because we are going to come back to it. So go ahead and click here, and it won't let us get away with this. It'll say you want to save it. We're going to say yes. Now, it'll give it the edited, which is what we want. In 11, that's what we want. Everything else, leave alone. Click Save. There you go. So now we have the original, because it never touches the original, and we have Joanne in a studio backdrop.